Comics wise, I picked up Marvel's Demon Wars on not on Goodreads, on Hoopla. It's a story and art by Peach Momoko. Um, this book is, first of all, this book is gorgeous.
Yeah.
If you haven't looked at Momoko's art, you are doing yourself a disservice because she knocks out of the park every time. This is actually a collection of issues, which I think might be part of why I didn't fully follow it at first. Our main character, Mariko, is the daughter of an Oni, and the book like makes it very clear that like stuff has happened before this that was probably in another book that I didn't read or that I read and forgot because that's my MO.
I think this follows Demon Days, which was the first part of that story, and then you're catching up on Demon Wars, which is the next part of that arc. So it's a whole universe that Momoko kind of built over at Marvel. So
Yeah, I
I would
definitely read the
recommend you go back
first
and
issue of Demon Days because
yeah.
now that you say that out loud, I'm like, I definitely read that.
Mm.
I just suck. This book follows her entering the spirit world. Um, her ancestor, Kigendoshi, who by design at least appears to be like this universe's Null or Carnage. It's unclear, but he's red and toothy. Um, his head was chopped off and he was stuffed into a shrine to protect the spirit world. She came into possession of his head, um, in the form of like a mask, like over her lower face, which I assume she puts on and then becomes a superhero. But because she's been using his power, it has like woken up his dead body and he started to thrash around and is causing earthquakes in Japan. So she basically has to choose like, is she going to allow these earthquakes to continue and get worse as he grows in strength, or is she going to return the head and give up her powers and also potentially, risk unleashing Kigendoshi onto the rest of the world? The I didn't really follow her thought process throughout this book. Like, I genuinely had no idea what she was going to do when we got to the end of it. But it was very fun to watch her encounter all of these Momoko verse versions of the different Marvel characters. Some of which I had no idea who they were supposed to be. Like Hayabusa was, I think, Falcon, just because he was a Falcon guy. But other ones, we've got Nikomata, who is a Black Panther man, or what was his name? Kumosuke, who is literally referred to as the friendly neighborhood spider yokai.
That's amazing.
He is definitely much more spider than man in this version. Like, he has many eyes and spider fangs and sprays webs on people.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, all the character designs look amazing because, of course, they do.
Right.
The thing that really got to me too was the coloring in this book. Momoko does a lot of cool stuff with watercolors.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not good enough to know if it's actually like watercolors on paper or if it's digital watercolor.
Sure.
But either way, it looks fantastic. And she does these really cool things where the quote unquote real world is very drab and understated, lots of like grays and browns. But as soon as she steps into the spirit world, it's like an explosion of color. And at the end of the book, after she has, resolved her issue, we see more of that color in the real world. So I think that's supposed to represent like the return of the spirit world to the mortal world, or at least her perception, Mariko's perception of the mortal world. It kind of makes it feel like the spirit world is what really felt like home to her, but then after like resolving some of these issues, maybe our world feels a bit more like home as well.
Interesting. I mean, Peach Momoko does not mess around, right? Like,
Yeah.
like her art is unbelievably good. And I think the most I've read of hers was she was doing some like X-Men one shots or whatever, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. And then I just dropped off of them for whatever reason. I don't remember why, but oh yeah, that was when I canceled all my books at Marvel or at Amazon, and I was like, you know what, I'll read this all on Marvel Unlimited. So maybe I should get back into it, because I remember enjoying those, because her takes on Marvel characters in her style are so cool. Just like, there's no other word for it other than this is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that this book also had that same feeling.
Yeah, I've been wanting to revisit this because I read Demon Days as it was coming out, but because they're really allowing Momoko to take the time to work on I mean, she's doing everything right in the book,
Mm-hmm.
as well as throwing in like Star Wars Vision one shots in between. So like, but I want to go back and read this. I do love all the. I think my favorite from the first arc was like Venom was like a snake that felt very
Yeah.
Orochimaru like.
Cool.
Um, and in 6 months, when you guys are caught up on Marvel Unlimited, y'all can read the Ultimate X-Men stuff that she's doing. Because boy, let me tell you, it's really cool. Like, especially if you're a fan of armor, you're gonna
Oh man,
you're gonna really enjoy that series.
I've
So,
heard some good things about
Brian,
that.
I hope to hear maybe in 6 months we'll do another show, and then you read Ultimate X-Men Volume 1.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'll go into that with no idea what it's about as well.
Yeah.
Be confused for 2 pages, then decide I don't care because it's awesome anyways.
Yeah.
Right.